our neighborhoods, not a whole lot right now. Let's check on Tropical Storm Andrew and see what the latest position is. As of 5 o'clock, we have 13.4 north latitude and the longitude 45.3 west. Winds are 45 miles per hour. That's Andrew right there, swirling about in the middle of the Atlantic. The condition of its movement right now out of the west, or moving toward the west-northwest at 23 miles per hour. And as it does so, it's still 1,050 miles away from the leading edge of the Lesser Antilles, so not a whole lot of danger to anybody right now. But it does show some signs of strengthening, and overnight we'll watch this.
Windows and glass doors are among the most vulnerable areas in our homes. If you don't have hurricane shutters, you can use plywood, but it should be at least a ½ inch thick. You can also use masonite that is 1/4 of an inch thick. Decorative awnings and shutters should be taken down. Taping windows with masking or duct tape will not make them stronger, but it can help keep broken glass from flying loose in the wind. Duct tape is easier to remove. If you have glass that is covered with a reflective film, or if it's tempered safety glass, there's no need to worry about tape. It's already as safe as possible for unprotected glass. It's a good idea to close drapes or blinds. This will also help stop flying glass. Outside, bring in all items that are movable. In hurricane-force winds, everything from patio furniture to potted plants to garbage cans and even fruit on trees can become dangerous objects. Trees that are taller than they are wide are more likely to break up or uproot in a storm. Larger trees that are close to the house may have to be cut back or braced with wood studs pounded into the ground at the bottom and nailed into the trunk at the top. For smaller trees, wire supports are recommended. If you're concerned about rising water or driving rain, sandbags at all doorways, including the garage, can help. If you have an outside antenna, take it down and store it in a safe place. But first, unplug the TV to make sure the antenna is not electrically charged. Also, make sure you have extra money. Banks won't do business if the power is out. Carmel Cafaro, Channel 7 News.
Excellent advice, and coming up a little later, Carmel shows you why you need to stock up on more than just water and batteries.
Once again, our top story tonight, Hurricane Andrew, where it is, where it's headed, how strong it is, and when it is likely to hit South Florida. Our special edition of Channel 7 News continues. The next hour and a half, we'll have live updates from the National Hurricane Center.
And complete coverage on what you need to do to get ready. We'll be right back.
Path of Hurricane Andrew.
It looks like our luck has run out. Hurricane Andrew appears headed towards South Florida, and tonight we are under a hurricane watch. All is calm on the Florida coast at this hour, but don't be fooled. Hurricane Andrew is out there with winds whipping at 100 miles an hour. Good evening, I'm Penny Daniels.
And I'm Sally Fitz, welcoming you to a special edition of Channel 7 News, The Path of Hurricane Andrew. We're going to be with you for at least the next 90 minutes and longer, if necessary. We are going to begin at the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables for the very latest on this hurricane's path and his power. Jerry Jarrell is going to join us live now. Jerry?
Good evening.
Good evening. When do you expect this hurricane to hit South Florida? That's the question we're all wondering at this point.
Well, it's a little early to call. Probably at the worst case, it would arrive before daybreak on Monday. More likely, it would be up in the day on Monday.
What is the status of this hurricane, Mr. Jarrell? I heard that the reconnaissance planes had flown through the hurricane and noticed that it was strengthening, that the pressure was getting lower and that it could strengthen.
That's right. It's the last wind speed we had was 100 miles per hour, but we know the pressure has dropped, and we suspect it's stronger than that. We're processing that now, and we'll have it out shortly. But we know it's up a little bit from that, probably 105 or a little more maybe.
When do you expect it to hit South Florida at this point? Can you give us a probability of that happening?
Well, we have marked out the area from Titusville through the Keys as the area that we expect to be hit, and we'll have to narrow that down, and we think we'll have to do that by the advisory at 5 a.m. or the one at 8 a.m. So it's a little early to say yet, but the odds are increasing. As long as it continues to head westward, the odds keep growing.
I'm curious about your gut feeling. What do you think? Do you think it's going to hit this area or not? I know I'm asking you to project earlier than you want to, but everybody is very concerned about that.
I'm going to be up at about 5 tomorrow putting up my shutters.
All right, well, that tells us all what we should be doing. Thank you, Jerry Jarrell, live from the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables. It's their job to watch this hurricane, and they will be throughout the night and through the whole course of events through the next couple of days. We'll check back with Jerry later in this newscast. Penny?
If you want to know what to expect from Hurricane Andrew, you can keep an eye on the Bahamas, because unless the hurricane changes course, he will hit there before reaching Florida. Right now, we're going to go to Jillian Worry, who is live in our weather center. She's been tracking the storm all day long. Jillian.
Well, Penny, you're absolutely right in saying don't be fooled by the calm before the storm, because right now that's exactly what's happening. We anticipate, again, its arrival by Monday. We've seen numerous amounts of things happen over the course of this storm developing, and right now he has strengthened, and as Jerry mentioned earlier, the reconnaissance aircraft up there, the pressure is dropping. That's not exactly good. The winds are picking up now, 100 miles plus, and it continues to move west at about 15 miles an hour. Now, these are the latest coordinates. It's about 575 miles east of Miami, latitude 25.8 north, longitude 71.0 west. Again, moving to the west at 15 miles per hour. Now, keep in mind and also into consideration that although the eye of the hurricane is right here, the hurricane winds extend about 30 miles in a radius around that, and the storm force a good 85 miles. So you've got to subtract that from this distance right here, and you've got to figure, well, 80 miles, that's 500 miles away, really, if you anticipate the amount of strength that is ahead of the center of that eye. And as we take a look at the hurricane watch, it is extended now from the dry Tortugas into Titusville. And as you can see, that moves all the way from the Keys, all the way around the coast, further north, up towards and even further past Cape Canaveral into Titusville. This area, it is just a watch right now. Of course, if conditions are warranted, we will, in fact, issue a warning. But right now, a watch means that conditions could be favorable within the next 36 to 48 hours, and that will take us into Monday. However, as Sally mentioned earlier, the Bahamas are right in the way, and in fact they are under the influence of a warning as the system moves further west. Another thing to take into consideration here, as the hurricane passes the Bahamas, they've got that area right in between, and that is exactly where the Gulf Stream is, and the mild waters of the Gulf may generate more winds and more speed, and that, incidentally, will mean more strength moving into this system. And those are the statistics for right now, and of course I'll keep you outdated throughout the entire newscast. For now, live from the Channel 7 website.
This is a 7 News special report, the path of Hurricane Andrew.
Welcome back to our continued
Bahamas right now. It's not going to be 6 hours. It's 6 hours before the core gets there, but you can see the fringe of the hurricane is now coming in. That's mostly cirrus cloud. Underneath that's rain bands, and that'll be coming across to Eleuthera and some of the easternmost islands of the Bahamas here in the next couple hours or so.
What do they see? Do they have rain, or do they have wind, or will the waves kick in first? What are the first signs?
The swells are going to be there, and of course the cloudiness, that's the cirrus cloud is already over there. So the cirrus cloud's there. The cloudiness is there. The swells are coming in. The wave action is coming in, and then the wind is starting to follow.
You know, islanders, it's said, tend to be somewhat complacent. That's why they probably live on islands, kind of a relaxed lifestyle. You heard Michael Williams actually come out and say that they may be too complacent down there. At least that's the feeling he's getting from talking to these folks. Dr. Sheets, do you suspect that could be the case, and what would you say to these people?
Well, indeed, there's always a complacency factor. The fact that you have what you have right here and your ability to telecast into that area hopefully influences some of the things they do.
You know, we've talked a lot about storm surge, Dr. Sheets, and I think for some people it's still one one of those meteorological words that we toss about that doesn't really mean anything. Try to inform us, maybe on more of a layman's terms, what we mean from your end when we say storm surge directly, concretely. What does that mean for people living in certain areas of South Florida and the Bahamas for that matter?
Well, it's a dome of water that'll be centered somewhere around the center of this hurricane, and the whole ocean comes up. We're talking about the whole ocean level comes up. In our case, it'll be around 10 feet, maybe 12 feet somewhere in Biscayne Bay, some of those areas. And then on top of that, you have wave action. So that's what the storm surge is. It will slowly come in over a period of hours, and then as the center approaches, then it may rise another 3 to 5 feet in a matter of 45 minutes. Just the ocean coming up with waves on top of that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but not only the water from the ocean, but also if you live close to like the New River or the Miami River, I understand in that area the surge would be higher as well.
Yes, it will be funneled somewhat up those rivers depending on where the center goes. If the center goes south of there, inland south of there, then it's going to drive the water up Biscayne Bay, up the rivers, up into higher areas into inland.
Dr. Sheets, what about the bay specifically? A lot of people think, and maybe mistakenly, that that is a buffer zone, that they are protected because it'll hit the beach and then, boy, it'll be nothing after that. Is that the case at all, or are they being just downright silly?
That's the latter part. Then indeed, it's not a protection there. Certainly, it's better there than it is out on Key Biscayne as far as the water is concerned, or down in Elliott Key. But when that water rises about 10 feet, it doesn't know that the flats are out there, for instance. It just drives that water on ashore.
I heard some people talking last night at dinner who said they've got boats in the water. They think that this is no big deal, and actually they're looking forward to it. They're taking their cameras out, and they just think this is going to be a whole bunch of fun. Not the case, I would imagine.
I would hope not. We lost 5 people in Hugo in South Carolina who decided to stay on their boats, and we're not talking about small craft. One was a 45-foot trawler, another 40-footer, and another with a sailboat, and so they decided to ride the storm out, and we lost their lives. So I hope that people are a little more prudent in this area.
All right, before we leave you, Dr. Sheets, let's get the final incidentals on this. 120 miles an hour, moving something like 14 or 15 miles an hour due west, and it is heading in our direction. Anything you'd add to that?
It's a little stronger now. The pressure's dropped, and so the winds are coming up, and we'll probably have a Category 4 hurricane as soon as we analyze the wind field here.
So that's not only a probability, it looks like it's almost a definite kind of thing. Yes. You're just waiting to get the actual confirmation.
Right.
Force would hit Hugo, is that right?
That was the strength that Hugo was, yes.
All right, Dr. Bob Sheets joining us.
I'm Jillian Moore. Down to is about 330 miles east of Miami lies the center of this eye, or the eye of the hurricane. And remember, the winds around that radius a good 85 miles outside the exact eye in the form of tropical storm force. Now, as we head a little bit closer to the eye, a good 35 miles outside of that are hurricane force winds. Now, they're backing speeds of 145 miles an hour. And boy, every time I hear Dr. Sheets speak, I'm waiting for him to say we could be going to a 5. But right now, it is just a 4. It has been upgraded quite rapidly, and the only concern that I would probably have, and a lot of the meteorologists are saying, that as it passes through the Bahamas, not that it's going to lose any strength there, because of the size and the magnitude of the system passing through the Bahamas is really nothing in comparison to the actual strength of it. But as it passes the warm bodies of the Gulf Stream, it may generate more moisture, it may generate more speed, and Lord knows more strength. Not exactly what it does need, but it could be getting more strength. It's sort of like a car stopping at a gas station to refuel, although this one is not going to stop. And by the time it hits Miami, it could be up to 155 miles an hour winds, and that again constitutes hurricane force. So again, it is a Category 4. It's gaining strength. Right now, we'll take a closer look at the affected areas. A tropical, or I should say a hurricane warning is in effect from Vero Beach into the dry Tortugas. A hurricane watch remains in effect for and from Bayport into Flamingo, and a tropical storm watch warning right here from Vero Beach into Titusville. So Vero Beach is kind of the area that we're watching right now as far as it's bordering the warning, tropical storm warning and hurricane warning. So once again, we will completely monitor the system throughout the day. Steve Adams, as well as myself, and with the help of Dr. Bob Sheets, and of course everyone involved here. It's Lord knows, please take this very seriously, because it is on its way, moving west at about 16 miles an hour. And of course, we'll keep you updated. For now, I'm Jillian Moore, live at the Channel 7 Weather Center. Back to you.
For all of you who think this is a dream, it may seem like one, but it is not. Hurricane Andrew is knocking on our door. It is a Category 4 right now. Here in North Bay Village and go to higher grounds, we suggest that you do the same.
We have the core of the hurricane coming in here. You see it well formed, and it's going to cause significant damage.
First of all,
as far as latitude and longitude, and if you're not following this or tracking it, most people like to just say, how many miles east is it of us? And right now it's 100 miles east of Miami. I can tell you that. And once again, that is from the center of the eye of the hurricane. Remember, the winds that extend outwards beyond the eye reach a good 100 miles. So yes, we are starting to feel what is the beginning of the tropical storm force winds. Right now, that is anywhere from 40 to about 74 miles an hour. Of course, 75 being the cutoff for hurricane storm force winds, or hurricane force winds, just the same. Again, as far as tracking a hurricane, you really couldn't have picked an easier one to track. It's been very much on course, meaning right now, if it keeps going at the momentum that we feel that it will, it should arrive, that is, the eye of the hurricane should arrive by daybreak. Right now, it is, again, backing winds of 140 miles an hour, and the beaches are already starting to feel the effects of the tropical storm force winds. And once again, I reiterate, they are anywhere from 40 to 74 miles per hour. Now, also, one other thing I'd like to mention with this system is it did move through Nassau. A lot of questions were being asked. Why wasn't Nassau hit as hard? Nassau, again, was on the weaker end of the storm system. What happens is, I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit. We've got this behind me, and Dr. Bob Sheets has been working so busy. He's been so busy all day and all night. But where Nassau is, again, it's on the southern or the weaker side of the system. The eye of the hurricane is in the middle. The stronger winds are in the northwestern quadrant, and basically they are backing speeds, again, of 140 miles an hour along the wall. But as it moves or motions to the west, take the top spin as well, top speed, which is now 60 miles an hour, add that to the 140 miles an hour, and that area that will be hit by those winds will be probably the hardest hit area. So that's why when we were talking about our Michael Williams earlier, who's in Nassau, that's why he wasn't experiencing the brunt end or the worst part of the system, but that is not
o'clock in the Cutler Ridge area, Homestead area, Florida City area. That's where the eye will most likely make landfall, judging by all the information that's at hand right now. Penny, Joan?
Thank you, Steve. You know, we're already beginning to get reports of some major damage. We understand, we just got word that a transformer blew in downtown Fort Lauderdale. All of the street lights are apparently out. It's apparently just gone dark in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So, as I said, reports of major damage already coming in.
We've also got an update from the wire services. Dr. Sheets was telling us he had one death confirmed in the Bahamas in Luther Island. According to the Bahamian government, now 4 people have been killed in the storm. We believe that they were either on Luther Island or Abaco Island. But again, that's 4 deaths in the Bahamas. Oh, I see. So, rather than the Dade Broward line, does that bode a little bit worse for the Keys then? We're pretty concerned about that area.
Well, they're going to get more of an offshore flow and off of Florida Bay, so they're going to get some problems in the upper Keys as a result of that. But the worst part is, again, the onshore flow there on the north side, Key Biscayne, downtown Miami, here in Coral Gables, and so on northward into the Miami Beach area.
Okay, Dr. Sheets, thank you very much, and we'll check back with you in just a few minutes. I think now we have the opportunity to go live to our photographer, Ralph Rayburn, who is at Hallandale Beach Boulevard and A1A. Ralph, are you with us?
Okay, I'm not sure he's quite ready.
Yeah.
Okay, he's ready now.
Yeah.
There he
He
is.
is ready, just ready. Ralph, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, I certainly hope you've seen a picture at this point.
We do, yes, we do.
Yeah, that's the tower, and you're looking back, looking west right now. Yeah, I'm going to come back to the truck for a second, get something to wipe the lens off from Adam Wright, and we'll take a little walk out here on the beach. Let me see. Okay. Pardon the darkness for a second there. We'll just keep moving.
It looks pretty good, Ralph. Keep going.
Okay.
We can see well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. How does it feel to you from the time that you showed us those other pictures?
I think I should start gaining weight because I feel like a kite here with this big yellow jacket on. It's starting to blow pretty strong. It's not just pushing me backwards right now. There's an empty lifeguard stand here. Hopefully I get a shot down here and show you some of the waves. I'm going to wipe the lens off one more time here. Hang on.
Well, while you're doing that, we have to point out that Ralph Rayburn is about, what would you say, Joan, 6'4", and definitely not a little guy, and he feels like he's being blown around like a
light on here. Anyway, as you can see, the rain's coming almost due sideways now, right into the lens of the camera. I'm sure that Will Harbison, our operations manager, is going to be happy with the condition of this camera when we get done. I'll wipe the lens again here. Anyway, we're not going to hang here too long because we've been listening to Bob Sheets, and he knows more about this stuff than we do, but we wanted to give our viewers at home a chance to see what it's like for the people down here as I stumble over something.
As you're making your way back to wherever you're going, and we'll take whatever shots you can give us during that time, how was the driving out there at this point?
Well, Adam Rice, one of our live truck engineers who's operating this unit that we're working from, pointed out some bus benches on Hallandale Beach Boulevard that had already been blown over by the wind. So the bus benches are made all of concrete and some plywood. You got to figure that the winds are pretty strong to blow those things over.
You know, that rain looks almost like hail. Does it look that way to you there?
I'm sorry, I got to wipe the lens again. There's a tremendous amount of sand mixed with this rain right now, and it's whipping around here pretty strong. These, amazingly, what are these things called here?
Chaise lounges.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, it's kind of hard.
That's a nice way of putting it.
They're strapped down, but none of them have started flying yet. We're not going to hang here too much longer, but we did want to give you guys a picture.
Okay, your wife, Jan, will be happy to hear that you're not going to hang there too much longer, but we certainly appreciate the pictures, Ralph, and we'll get back to you if you have anything else in a little while.
Okay. I've just been handed a piece of paper from our producer monitoring our wire services. We understand there was a big fire. This is a big fire at Northwest 172nd Avenue and Biscayne. It's a two-story building. This note says it will most likely have to burn to the ground, and they do think it was started by the hurricane. Whether it'll burn to the ground because no one can get to it or it's just not worth the effort, we don't know. I'm not sure what...
Thanks a lot, Steve. We'll get back to you in a few minutes. Right now, we are going to Carlos Harrison, who is live in Broward County at Hallandale Beach Boulevard and A18. Carlos, tell us.
We are out here at Hallandale Beach Boulevard to what we would know as Broward Boulevard, along that area. Now, for the most part, they're hit and miss areas, not exactly what you would say a massive area. There might be a 5 or 6 block area without power, then another 5 or 6 block area with power, so it's almost at intervals. We have spoken with some Florida Power and Light officials, and they're basically telling us when they have a lot of transformers go or when they have a lot of power lines go down, the way they're going to deal with it is they're just going to go ahead and let that entire area shut off. Unless there's a real emergency, they're not going to be sending crews in there with these winds that we're going to be experiencing now to try and put the telephone poles or the electric poles back up or fix the transformers. They'll do it after the hurricane is gone, and that would be sometime tomorrow around probably 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Is it the winds that are causing these transformer explosions, do you think? What is causing it? It's obviously from the hurricane, but what part of the hurricane is causing these things to happen?
You know, we experienced a couple of these. We got to see firsthand a little while ago when we were driving down here. Actually, it's not a little while ago anymore, about 2 or 3 hours ago. We actually saw them blow. It seemed to us at the time the only possible explanation for it could have been the wind, because there was nothing else happening at the time other than the wind. So,
hours ago. We also have a report of a large fire at Northeast 172nd and Biscayne Boulevard. And I think this would be part of the evacuation area, actually. Don't know what building this is. Well, apparently it was a building where boats were being built, some sort of a boat building. Don't know what it is. Might have been a marina, I'm not sure. Northeast 172nd and Biscayne Boulevard, apparently a large fire, and apparently the fire department is not going to be responding to this at this time, so if there's a fire, it's probably going to just have to burn itself out.
We've just been told it's Mako Marina, where that fire that you're speaking of was. Just recognizing some of those pictures that Ralph just showed us, Ralph Raymond we refer to. That's the area right behind, not far from Channel 7 actually. It's around 163rd and Collins Avenue where some of these pictures are taken. And again, you know, you really don't get the full brunt of the hurricane or the full brunt even of the storm in these pictures. These pictures,
the bridge going over to Hollywood.
These pictures, you look at them right now, they don't look any different than a thunderstorm in South Florida on any particular day. I mean, there's nothing extremely dramatic about these pictures. An overturned tree in South Florida is not a revelation, as a matter of fact. Jillian Ware has been following the situation for us for a while now. You know, you can't help but wonder, Jillian, if the folks in the Keys who we were always so concerned about, actually, because of the position of the hurricane, the way it's coming in, as far down as Key West, they've kind of lucked out, haven't they?
They certainly have, and when you consider that on the south side of the eye, it's one of the weaker areas, if you can call any area a weak area within a hurricane. Rick, you're probably right in your assessment, because again, as Michael was mentioning when he was reporting from the Nassau area, and he was saying, it was incredibly somber. You would expect something a little more dramatic.
All right, thank you, Craig. Good news for Miami Beach residents. They want to get back on that island, and now they're going to be able to.
And that is good news. We told you just a little while ago we were trying to hook up with the helicopter pilot who's shooting this devastation from the helicopter itself. Maurice Johnson is his name. First of all, Maurice, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rick. Go ahead.
Maurice, you and I have known each other a long time, so I'm going to ask you this question quite bluntly. With the exception of the wars in which you have fought, have you ever seen pictures that resemble the type of destruction that you're flying over right now?
That's negative. What you see now is what you call total destruction, especially like here, over at the airport. I've seen places that's been bombed out that did not create the destruction that Hurricane Andrew has just caused to this area.
Sally and I are looking at these pictures, and we almost want to not believe that some of these buildings actually were something other than perhaps dilapidated buildings to begin with, or maybe buildings that were halfway constructed. That's not the case, though, is it?
No, the modern age building that we're shooting just at this particular moment is a fairly new building. It's only 5 years old. The shopping center that's across the street where it says Winn-Dixie, Kmart, that is a recent structure up there. It's built in the last 6 or 7 years. The Cutler Ridge Mall, as you know, is one of the newest malls that we have in this area. And like I said, it is total devastation.
Maurice, can you kind of take us, you seem to know this area well, better than we do here. Why don't you take us on a tour and tell us which buildings you see and what you know about the building?
Okay, Sally, we're going to head over towards the Cutler Ridge Mall.
All right, we're seeing the Winn-Dixie store right now.
That's it.
And we're seeing some residential areas.
Okay, this is just north of the Turnpike extension on the area, and it's east of US 1. The building off to my right, is a modern age building from the rear. As you can see, as we pan along, as we are flying, you'll see nothing but debris that has been spread all over, even empty fields. As we come up here towards the Cutler Ridge Mall, you'll see on the side of the Turnpike extension an 18-wheeler where the cargo is laying upside down on the side of the road.
That's it right there.
That's it.
Huh.
And what's all that debris all over the place on the side of the road,
That
Maurice?
is loose pieces that was flying when the hurricane hit, and they just happened to land there. Right now, we're coming up on the Holiday Inn in the Cutler Ridge Mall. As you can see,
that's totally gutted, isn't it, Maurice?
That's affirmative. That's a total devastation.
I hope nobody was in there when this happened.
Now what you're looking at is Cutler Ridge Mall.
Now, these are not places that were halfway in construction or anything, right, Maurice? These are buildings that were fully operational.
No, these are fully operational buildings. I've even shopped here. That's Marvin. That's J.C. Penney's right below us. As you can see, the one that says ears, that's Sears with the S gone.
I guess it is, Maurice. Yeah, there it is. I don't see much roof damage on that one. That seems to have escaped major damage. Am I wrong?
It is. It's a pretty good structure. There's no damage, but you'll see the Sears Auto, which is coming across, a part of it was peeled off.
Part of the roof.
Yeah, the little building with the cars right behind it.
Yeah, but that's not as bad as the other roofs. My gosh.
What is that big body of water that we're looking at right there? Is that just is that a lake or a puddle?
That's a parking lot. That's a parking lot, and as you see, the open front building.
Yes.
I think it used to be Publix.
Yes, that's the Publix. You're absolutely right. The whole front facade and looks like the interior is gone. The checkout lines, forget it.
And the one that's just below us is Rhodes Furniture. That's a parking lot behind it, on the side and in the front, if you got a boat.
Can you tell, because you probably are able to see things that we can't see through our monitor, Can you see the merchandise in some of these places still? For example, do you see furniture in the modern age? Do you see food inside the public stores?
I haven't got that close to it yet, Rick. I can go down closer, but right now I'm shooting you a wide shot so you can see the whole area at one time to see what type of devastation this really was.
Maurice, why don't you, if you can, head over to that modern age building and let's take a look inside and see what happened. It's a pretty open shot. Most of the roof is gone in the back there.
Okay, that's what I'm headed for.
We can't help but imagine, and the reason we're concentrating on the modern age, because we would think, Maurice, that's got to be at least in the upper millions of dollars in damages if they were to lose every piece of furniture inside that store, not to mention all the decorating that they've done just to make the furniture stand out and the money that they've paid to their interior decorators to make the place look good. Then you add to that the physical plant itself. We got to be talking about millions of dollars, should we not?
What's that right there, Maurice?
Okay, this is a new building. I can't even tell you what's the name of it, Sally, because the front is all gone. The facade is all gone off the front. We're now coming up on the modern age building.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going down lower. This is, I hope the transmitter stay with me and let me know if I'm losing a signal.
We'll do that for you.
All the glass there broke out. Look at that.
It looks like the furniture is piled up in one corner on the right there.
Okay, we even have a car. As you see, this gentleman in the blue shirt is standing down there by his car. I guess he's wondering how he's going to get it out of here.
Look at that.
Look at all that furniture just tossed around and probably ruined.
That must have been the storage area in the back, the way
it
is jumbled around there.
Where you see the top part, that was the showroom from the front.
What is that boat doing there?
Somebody parked it, or
maybe it got there from Biscayne Bay.
There's a lot of them down there, too.
Just kidding, folks.
Now, what's that?
Okay, this is one of those strip centers across the street from Eckert's and Kmart's. It's down by Quail Roost.
Strip shopping center.
Where is the Holiday Inn from here, Maurice? Can you make it over there fairly easily?
The Holiday Inn is only about 3 blocks from here. I'm going to give you a turn, and you could be looking at it from a long distance while I go toward it.
Here it is. I wish there was a way that we can find out whether this place was vacated prior to the storm hitting or whether there were actually people in there at the time. I think that certainly would be a pertinent question.
I'll tell you one thing. Most of the hotels inland were booked. Some friends of mine tried to get reservations. They tried to escape the coastal areas to go inland, and they couldn't find rooms. They had a tough time. They had to go to a friend's house. So I hope it wasn't.
Well, I'll tell you, from this vantage point, one can't help but think that if it was filled with guests at the time, that they would have had a very tough time getting out of there without some injuries.
Let's see if Maurice can get closer in on that Holiday Inn so we can see a little bit more of what happened there.
Maurice, of all the areas that you've flown over so far today, is this the area by far that's you've seen that's shown you the most damage?
This is the worst area. The eye part of the eye came this way. I think it extended all the way down here to Cutler Ridge up to around 120th Street.
All the windows are gone. Well, the beds and the furniture are in there.
The beds and the furniture,
There's a few
the
cars
mirrors
there. I
and the
think some
dressers.
people forgot to check out.
I guess. Quite a sight at Cutler Ridge.
Maurice, stay with us for just a second here. We're going to just make a quick appeal to our viewers. We're having a problem right now. So many of you are calling us here at Channel 7 right now that our phone bank is completely jammed up. We can't make any phone calls going out. We can't get any phone calls coming in. The entire system is just jammed up. So if you would, unless it's an emergency and you need to reach us, we have to ask you in the most cordial and diplomatic way as I possibly can to not call us, at least within the next hour or so, while we can take care of some of our business, or else we're going to have a tough time bringing you or disseminating the information that we're trying to bring to you. We're not trying to discourage you from communicating with us, because without you, we can't do the news. But at this particular point in time, we'd like for you to cease calling so we can just get our phone system back in order again. We thank you ahead of time for that.
Maurice, what was that pink building that
most, or if it just so happens that, you know how parents are, they tend to think less of themselves and more of their children, so when we talk to them, that's always what they tell us. It may not really be the case, but in parent speak, I think we can understand that that's very important to them.
And the kinds of relief that's coming in, is it all individuals with trucks? Is it groups, like I know the JCs were going down there and some other groups? Who is it that's going down primarily with this relief effort?
Well, it's different types of relief. That's an interesting question that you posed, because we've seen different forms of relief coming into the area. Remember those packs we showed you when we were covering the Desert Storm situation?
Right.
Those little bags.
MRIs or whatever.
You got it. It's like a dirty green little bag. It's almost in camouflage.
Yeah, meals ready to eat.
We just ran a package on that. Yes, we saw so that's coming in. But there
we see those, exactly. And the point I was making is, in contrast to those, which I didn't know you'd shown them already, you see the relief coming in almost as if someone had gone into a supermarket with a brown bag and just grabbed whatever they could. I mean, people walking around, which obviously they showed up at a relief shelter that's been set up around here, and they got the supplies that they think are necessary for them, and they're carrying them in a haphazard way, if you will. And then there's the other relief where people are just showing up and being handed individual items out of a truck. If they happen to need baby formula, it's given to them. And so far, the effort is quite coordinated, thanks to the National Guard. When the trucks come in, people tend to scurry to that location, and they want to have first dibs. The National Guard keeps them somewhat orderly, and then they're able to get the supplies and move about their way.
Are they needing clothes yet? I know we're so heavily focusing on food because that is you've got to have nourishment. There's no doubt about it. But I'm wondering if they're starting to need things like that. Even if they have a few things, they're not going to be able to wash and do laundry for a while. How's that holding up?
That's a good question, Kelly. No, I don't think it is at this point. I think that despite the fact that most people lost their homes, they were able to recover, because clothes tends to get stuck to things and it's not really pulled away anywhere. They were able to find, through the course of their own rummaging in their front yard, in their backyard, in their neighbors' yards, they were able to find most of the belongings that were loose, things like their shirts and their sheets, and they're still able to use those for a while, we would say. I wouldn't take that explanation any further than 2 more days, because it's difficult for these people to find a place to clean and wash that stuff, so it might become very difficult for them. But for right now, the primary supply and relief that they need has more to do with baby supplies and water and food than it would clothes.
What about if people have things that they want to bring down? I guess they can just load up a truck or whatever and bring the things that you mentioned down, but there are all kinds of other things that people want to donate: construction supplies, chainsaws, flights to get them out to another area if they want to go, whatever it is. Can they call? Like, is the National Guard prepared to handle phone calls from people?
I understand the National Guard is now trying to put together shelters, the same kind that they used when they went to Desert Storm. And these will be used to house people who right now are sleeping in homes without roofs, as we've told you. The problem is getting these people to this location. If you talk about heavy equipment, it's difficult to bring it down here because there's just so many people who need so much. Where would you begin? Who would you give it to? And why would you choose to give one person the canvas over another person? So it becomes difficult to do that. That's why that type of relief is better managed by the Red Cross and by the National Guard, because they can create shelters which can be used by a whole bunch of people at once, as opposed to sporadic offerings to different people.
I should just let you know that we had a pretty good rainstorm here about 15-20 minutes ago, so our luck may not be holding out as far as it remaining dry. I think that has been probably the kindest thing after what nature did to us that has happened out of this, because a lot of people still don't have what they have left covered. But watch out for that. It may well be headed your way, Rick.
Thank you, Kelly. We just got one of those a little while ago, and as you can see, we got a little bit wet when we went on that excursion that we took, and that's one of the reasons that we did that. We were thinking to ourselves as we saw the first raindrops fall, as bad as things are for these people right now, this rain is only going to make things worse, and especially when you take into perspective that most of them, as we've said over and over again, have no ceilings and have no roofs in their homes. So it had to be a difficult situation. We weren't able to go out far enough into the areas that are really devastated, the trailer homes and some of those wood frame homes, because we're in the downtown sector right now. Tomorrow morning, we certainly hope to do just that. And as I had mentioned in one of my earlier reports, we have heard that there is a location. It's a makeshift trailer park, if you will, actually more a migrant camp, that's further down close to the Everglades entrance. Sally, you're familiar with that area.
Right.
And we know it's there. We don't know if anyone's checked on it. We don't know what the condition is of the people there. And because it's too dark now, we can't go out and check. But first thing in the morning, we're going to head out there if we can get through and take some relief to those people. And more importantly, perhaps, find out what their condition is right now.
Rick, why don't more of these people go in the shelters? If they're living in homes with no roofs, and we just talked to the people at Red Cross, as a matter of fact, and I asked particularly about the homestead shelter, and they say they have plenty of room there.
Well, it's very easy to answer that question. They are very concerned about what they do have left, and beyond that, obviously they don't want people coming in and stealing or looting or taking anything that they have left. But beyond that, I think there's a certain emotional attachment that takes place when something like this happens. You know, we have a saying that a lot of Cubans always say in Spanish, and that is, your home is your home is your home. It's hard emotionally to separate yourself from that, to just walk away and go somewhere else and call something else your home. It's difficult to do that, and for some people, gradually, they're able to do that. We talked to the gentleman earlier who says, I'm leaving, I'm going to Alabama, and I probably will never come back. And you could see in his eyes and speaking through his heart that he's going to miss this place because this is where he's been the most part of his life, and it's hard to walk away.
Yeah, it really is. And right now, you need the things around you that are familiar, no matter how devastated they may be at this particular point.
Well, it's a tough situation, and there really, there aren't very many answers to try and solve it at this point. They maybe some point they'll have to go to a shelter because you can't survive in a situation like that for very long.
Not if it's going to be several weeks.
This is a new situation. We're not even into it a week, and
And we're being victimized by those agencies that are supposed to be moving in here to assist us. And I really don't like to be in a position to have to criticize agencies that we are dependent upon in this community to come in and help us out of this situation. But enough is enough. Somebody's got to come out and ask a lot of people who are very responsive, who have been elected, who have high positions in this community, in this country, to quit playing like a bunch of kids and victimizing us in the process. Get those goods and services down here. It's no secret. We need it. And sort out your political feuds afterwards. But get us what we need. If we do not get more food and water into the South End in a very short period of time, we are going to have more casualties because we're going to have people who are dehydrated, who are without food, babies that need formula. Dade County is running these distribution sites. We've got the hospitals in place with the help of the Public Health Service and our firefighters. But for God's sakes, would you please cut it out and help us out down here? And that's all I've got to say.
Can I ask you a quick question, Ms. Hale?
Do you want the Army in here?
What exactly right now can the Feds start to do which they're not
The Feds know. They've got the requests. They're going through the state. They know what we need. We've got a laundry list. I'm not going to repeat it here. You all know what we need. How can they not know what we need? They're getting the requests.
What can you tell the people that need them?
We are doing everything that we can to get these goods and services down there. We've established 13 more staging areas, and that's going to be increasing as quickly as we can increase it. We are, in the situation we're in, having to take over and manage disaster relief by organizing our own volunteers, our own collection of supplies. That is not the role of the devastated government. That is the role of other agencies that are supposed to be in here helping us. We're doing it. We are supposed to be getting assistance from others to come in here and do it. And we've been told over and over again, they're being mobilized, they're on their way. Well, for God's sakes, where are they?
Would you like to see the Army in here?
The Army has a task in this, and it's my understanding that a general has called in again to ask why we're not requesting things. I would like him to go to FEMA and ask them why the requests aren't being passed on.
Would you like to see the Army?
I would like to see every agency that's tasked in that federal catastrophic response plan down here. We have a catastrophic disaster. Please come down and help us. We are looking at hours away from more casualties if we don't get this food in and this water in
The
place.
director of FEMA is going to be here in about an hour. Are you going to tell him the same?
I've about had at everybody, and I'm going to certainly let him know where we are on this. Yes.
Compounding the tragedy, we just received word of a plane crash in Pembroke Pines at North Perry Airport, a plane that reportedly was sending relief supplies to South Dade County. Do you have any information about that?
I didn't know about it. You're telling me brand new news. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Any information about that particular flight?
I just told you I don't even know anything about the crash or the flight. All I know is that people are coming down here with everything, and we're trying to get a system to be able to accept and distribute this. But again, we have about 85% of the search and rescue on those devastated buildings still ahead of us. We are still in a stage where we're looking at emergency food and water. There are still areas of the county we haven't been able to get into to establish communications. I don't know if these people have radios. I don't know if they know we're out there trying to help them. All I know are a lot of people are saying, why aren't we doing more? We're doing everything we can. Where in the hell is the cavalry on this one?
Who are we talking about? You mentioned just a moment ago several of these agencies who should be here. You've issued the appeal. Who specifically are we talking about who haven't materialized?
I don't see anything from the Red Cross at this point. I understand they're mobilized and coming in, but right now it's still our local shelters are absolute. We had to have rescue take out our Red Cross volunteer last night who had been here for days on end working his heart out. Okay, local people, local Red Cross people. Okay, I was on the Larry King show last night, and I heard Elizabeth Dole say they're running 229 shelters here. Okay? You all have the list. You all have been around the community. You tell me where those other almost 200 shelters are. And that they will be doing. They're not here yet. You know FEMA's been down here. You know resources are supposed to be mobilized and coming in.
Okay, what about food distribution? Is there anything that the feds could do to help you distribute food?
We need food. We need water. We need people down here. We need help on reinforcing these systems. You know, you all know it. You all know it. Who's been doing it?
When was it that you asked that the federal catastrophic plan go into effect? When did the county ask that?
The county talked to the state, and the state talked to the federal government before Andrew ever made landfall. We knew we were looking at a devastating hurricane down here. This isn't a surprise. Everybody in the whole country knew it. I mean, CNN, all the networks, everybody has carried this thing all the way through. There is a federal plan in place to respond to this, and it's my understanding they're mobilizing. But we're getting killed down here as though we're not trying to do everything we can, and we're all about ready to drop. And the reinforcements are not coming in fast enough. And if we don't get food and water down there, the casualty rate is going to go much higher. So I would like everybody who has a role to play above Dade County in getting stuff down here to do whatever it takes to get done and to quit playing the games that are being played.
Senator Graham's been here for a better part of the morning. He was here yesterday with Senator Mack. What have they been able to tell you? They're at this level.
They are doing everything they can. I have no fault with them. I know these things are being passed on. Why these agencies aren't in place and functioning and why this stuff isn't flowing in faster, I would like you to ask. I mean, you all live down here, and you know the amount of Dade County bashing that goes on, and that's exactly, it's real easy to make us the bad guys in this. It's real easy to act like everybody's out doing something, and who's really going to look to see if it's here? And what they're doing is a nice game. Let's turn everybody on everybody else. Let's say it's not this agency. Let's say it's the county that's not doing it.
Do you have criticism with Governor Charles?
Again, you've been listening to Kate Hale, Director of the Emergency Management Office in Dade County. She is very angry this morning because She is asking for help and saying she is not getting it, while the federal people are saying apparently that they are offering the help and it's not being requested. So, for the record, Kate Hale has asked for the help. We're going to try and find out more about where the lapse in communication seems to be and see if we in the media can't somehow act as a middleman and pass that information along, because what's important here is not name-calling.
Arrests. There are 101, I apologize, arrests for looting, 41 other arrests for miscellaneous things they say could come up in any situation. Now, there have been, at this point, 14 confirmed deaths in unincorporated Dade, and 1 in the city, so that gets you 15. Now, there have been published reports and other reports of other deaths, but those would be handled by other jurisdictions, and again, they're only confirming at this end here 14. But as you look at these scenes of destruction, the fear is that once search and rescue teams are able to sift through the rubble and go through these areas, that number unfortunately will climb in both of the number of those hurt and those who have indeed been killed. So that's what we have here right now. Again, we're waiting on an 11 o'clock news conference where we hope to have updated.
Having a home and being part of a neighborhood and a community are probably just not going to be there for a long, long time.
And obviously it's very difficult when the guy next to you has his house in shambles and the guy next to him has his house in shambles.
Sure.
And there's just not enough builders to go around to get the job done.
Sure, and I think that's where the coordination is going to have to come in, and that's where this federal disaster money is going to have to start pumping into South Florida immediately.
Please, the number is 579-6613. Call that number. 579-6613, and you can find out what your hours are going to be. The Dade State Attorney's Office will be opening on Monday. Miami will open its building and zoning office from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to help process permits for home repairs. That'll be at 275 Northwest 2nd Street. All of Miami's mini city halls will be open today from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The phones aren't working that well, but there will be people in each office. We have word of laborers and carpenters needed. I imagine we'll be hearing a lot of this in the future, because obviously there's an awful lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of places that need to be fixed. We have one call going out for laborers and carpenters. Jim Gore at General Contractors, Inc. The number there is 876-0069. This is for laborers and carpenters who are looking for work. They are looking for you. 876-0069, that's the office number, or you can try 793-3738. We also have a way for anybody who's out of touch because the phone lines are down to get messages out. Advanced Telecommunications Corporation is offering to provide a free message service for people in the South Dade area who want to contact their friends and relatives. They're trying to set up message stations in shopping areas and shelters to help victims. Anybody who can help in finding places for messages is asked to give them a call. The number is out of town. It's 407-362-3118. That is for any help in finding locations or message centers. We have word that free ice is available also, if you need it. This is in Fort Lauderdale at Cash's Amico on State Road 84. Free ice to any hurricane victims. Of course, we'll have more as it comes in. Reporting live from the news desk, guys, Charles Molina.
Food, I don't know if they've just opened for business for the first time, but you can see the people pouring out. And this is probably their only opportunity to get some food and, you know, something to feed the kids or do whatever. And we've got Maurice, I guess, is hooked up in Skycam. Maurice, what are you seeing out there?
Hello, Maurice, can you hear us? Jim Barry here.
Yeah, Jim, I can hear you. I don't know whether I have a hot mic.
You do, Maurice. We hear you loud and clear. Describe this scene out here. It looks like a huge line of people waiting to get in the store. Has it not opened yet, or is this a line of people waiting to get in an open store?
I don't know whether they're waiting to get in an open store or not yet, Jim, until I get around.
Okay.
I guess
yeah, and I think Maurice is going to be in and out because he's awfully far.
Yeah, what's happening, Jim, is I'm making turns all the time, and I've got to constantly switch when the transmitter tells me to.
All right. Maurice, try to give us the best description you can of the picture we're seeing. We see a long line of folks. Looks like they're waiting to get in the store.
I don't know. I think Publix, because they came here in their own helicopter, I think they're giving away food that was inside there. So I think that's what that line is waiting for.
Okay.
So they're waiting to get in the store, or are they going to have the food outside in the parking lot, Maurice? I guess we have to wait and see, huh?
Well, it looked like they got it towards the front. You're walking into the store. They let them go into the store.
What time did this start this morning? Any idea, Maurice, or did you just get on the scene now?
No idea when it started. When I came down this way to bring food and things for our crews down this way, that's when I first spotted it.
And you're in Homestead, Maurice, that's correct?
That's affirmative. I'm in Homestead. There's also another market further up the line. When we leave here, we'll go up there.
Give me a better coordinate, Maurice.
We're on US 1, Jim, just as the main entrance going into Homestead. It's on the highway where they have the fighter plane monument that's sitting there on the corner of US 1 and one of their main streets.
All right, now I know exactly where you are. I see a chopper there. Is that one of the Publix choppers that you were referring to? And now we're looking at a building there that was just totally wiped out. What is this building that we're looking at now, Maurice, that's wiped out? Do you know?
I don't know what that building is, Jim. There's no name on it. All I know is next to the Publix market.
And that there's not much left of it.
Maurice, when you flew down this morning, was this a familiar sight, or is this the first time you've seen this many people together going after some food?
No, there's another market that's further up the road, closer to Cutler Ridge, is doing the same thing.
Looks like there's a pretty steady traffic flow on US 1. Is it clogged as it was yesterday with people trying to get down to the Keys? Give us an idea of the traffic situation.
No, the traffic situation is good. The cars that the people evidently came in, they're parked in the parking lot, so they're not causing a traffic jam.
Maurice, as an ex-military man, obviously you're not that far from the Air Force Base. We've heard the devastation down there. What have you heard about what the condition of Homestead is?
Homestead Air Force right now is nothing but a runway.
That's it?
That's it. The Officers Club, naturally I would know that. And the rest of the buildings are all gone.
Yes.
It's unbelievable as we look at the situation, and it's understandable that folks would be showing up for food, and good to see that this is a line for donated food and not food for purchase. Maurice, you wouldn't happen to be going over the new ball field in Homestead now, would you?
Can you still hear us, Maurice?
Yes, I am. I had to look around and see.
And see where you are.
Because his perspective up here has changed so much, being how there are no trees or anything,
right.
And that is the perfected Cleveland Indian. I'm sorry.
If we can take another swing back around there, because we've heard so much about that project. The Indians spent $10 million, and I guess the city of Homestead
right.
too,
Actually,
$10 million to lure the Cleveland Indians down here. Brand new scoreboard, state-of-the-art everything. And
Ron Frazier used the facility for the Olympic baseball tryouts, a beautiful facility, and through the bed tax, they really financed that all, and I guess they're getting ready to move in next spring training. But
well, the Homestead manager, mayor, who we spoke to yesterday, Tad DeMilli, vowed that it will be ready, and the Indians are promising a lot of help. And
yeah, you'll stay in line.
We'll be here later this month. Again, we're sweeping back over what appears to be a big apartment complex in Homestead. There you see a roof just sheared off, and the pictures speak 1,000 words. And I guess to be on the ground there gives you another awful perspective of the wrath of the storm. For those of you listening to us on Love 94, we are looking right now at pictures of Homestead, which is just ravaged by Hurricane Andrew. We've seen these pictures a lot, but the more we see them, it's almost unbelievable to watch as we see entire homes and communities leveled. Apparently there's a big food line that's opening up now at a Publix store there at Homestead, and already a huge line of people there to get food. And we can only expect that that line will grow during the course of the day.
Maurice, let me ask you, people talk about this looking like a war zone. You have a very long military past, flying helicopters in Vietnam. Compare this a little bit. Does this look like a war zone to you when you've seen the devastation of, obviously, bombs going off?
This looks worse than some of the places I've seen where bombs have gone off and we did a good job. I think that you could put this in perspective, probably not the total area, but the small area destruction in the same context as Hiroshima.
Wow, that hits home. And now we are flying over the Homestead baseball field, and it looks like the stands there are pretty much ripped up. And looks like the parking lot of the facility, the field's torn up. Looks like some of the light towers withstood the storm pretty well.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it is. But